Chapter 17 of Ramayana's Yuddha Khanda, the recovery of the princess. Apadamahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokaviramam Sriramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyam. The heads of the Vanara army stood around Rama and the brave Lakshmana, and they were feeling afraid lest they should die without regaining consciousness. While they were watching, Rama moved slowly, and it could be seen that slowly his consciousness was coming back to him. He looked at once at his brother, and he thought that he was dead. He saw his brother lying there, wounded, with blood covering his beautiful body, and Rama was inconsolable. He lamented the death of Lakshmana. He wailed, "I have seen my beloved brother dead, and what is the purpose of my living any more? What is Sita to me when Lakshmana is gone? What should I live for once he is dead? If one looks diligently enough in this world, there can easily be found a woman like Sita. But will I ever find a brother like Lakshmana? Can there be another warrior like him? I am going to kill myself since I have lost my brother. How can I face Kausalya Devi and Sumitra when I go back to Ayodhya alone? How can I comfort them who will weep like mother deer, who have been parted from their young? What will Bharata think of me, and what about Shatrughna, his twin? He came to the forest with me, and his mother Sumitra asked him to think of me as his father. Is it like a father that I have taken care of him? I have been the cause of his death. I have no desire to live any longer. I am a sinner and I deserve to die. Lakshmana, when I was unhappy, you were the one to comfort me, and now you are dead, and I have no one to comfort me. I will follow him to the city of Yama and be with him. He followed me when I left Ayodhya, and it is but meet that I should go with him now. We can never be parted. Never once has he spoken harshly to me, and he has ever followed the path of Dharma. He was easily roused, but never once against me. Sugriva, go back to Kishkinda with what is left of your army. Now that we will both be dead, Ravana will harass you, and I do not want that to happen. Cross the sea and go back as quickly as you can. You did your best for my sake, and I will never forget the love you have for me. But the time has come when you should return to Kishkinda. Rama fainted again. The Vanaras stood with tears in their eyes. Vibhishana, who had been busy trying to bring order in the scattered ranks, came there with his gada in his hand, and the army fled from him, thinking that he was a Rakshasa from the enemy camp. After a while, Jambavan assured them that it was Vibhishana, and they came back and abandoned their fear. Vibhishana sat and mourned the death of the Kosala brothers, and so they sat hopelessly. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Rama Varanane. Om Shri Ramar Pranamastu. Chapter 17, Part 2 of Ramayana's Yuddha Kanda, the recovery of the princess. Apadamahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokaviramam Sriramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyam. Sushena, the physician, came near them and said, once during the war between the Devas and the Asuras, several of the Devas were floored. Even thus, and they appeared to be dead. Brihaspati, the divine preceptor, asked for some herbs to be brought from the ocean of milk, and he revived them. Let some of the Vanaras bring 2 herbs by name Sanjeeva Karani and Vishalya Karani. In the ocean of milk are found the hills Drona and Chandra. They are located in the spot where the Amrita was churned from. These 2 herbs can be found there. The Devas had placed them on these hills. Let Hanuman, the son of Vayu, go there and bring them. Even as he was speaking, there was a strong breeze blowing from the sea. The sea was in tumult and the mountains were shaking because of the strong wind. Wings seemed to beat in the air and trees were uprooted by the force of the wings. The serpents which formed the bounds and which were choking Rama and Lakshmana were now trembling in fear, and the Vanaras looked up to see the great eagle Garuda approaching the fallen princes. When he came near, the serpents fled from the bodies of Rama and Lakshmana. Garuda stroked the faces of Rama and Lakshmana with his two hands, and their wounds vanished as though by the touch of a magic hand. They were again as glorious as ever, and their limbs lost their weakness. They woke up from their stupor. Garuda embraced them, and Rama said, "Because of your grace, we have both been saved from the danger caused by Indrajit. We feel strong and our fatigue is vanished. I feel that I have been caressed by my father when your hands touched me. You are so handsome and you are wearing garlands which are said to be used by the celestials. You are wearing beautiful ornaments. I do not know who you are." Garuda said, "Rama, I am Garuttaman or Garuda, and I am your constant companion. I am your very life, which has a separate form and which is wandering about. I came here to aid you. No one, not even Deva or Gandharva, nor Dhanava, or anyone for that matter, is able to loosen the knots formed by the snakes which form the Nagapasha. These serpents are all the sons of Kadru, and they have taken up the guise of arrows, and they have wound themselves around you. I am their ancient enemy, and they are afraid of me. Rama, you are righteous and you are a true hero. You and your brother are destined to destroy all your enemies, and you have been released from the Nagapasha. When I heard about this incident, I came here with all speed to release you. Your dharma is your strength, and you will be victorious even though the Rakshasas fight with treachery in their hearts. Give me leave to go back to where I came from. Do not be curious as to how I call myself your friend and how I am your alter ego. When you have achieved what you have to, you will understand my words. Soon you will kill Ravana and Sita will come back to you." Taking leave of the brothers, Garuda flew into the sky. Om Shri Vainathayaya Namah. Om Shri Rama Lakshmanaya Namah. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattuliyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramarpanamast. Chapter 18 of Ramayana's Yuddha Khanda. Ravana sends Prahasta. Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. The joy which pervaded the army of Rama was indescribable. The noise of their bugles and drums and their shouting filled the four quarters. They clapped their hands and they kissed their tails. They rushed to the gates of Lanka and displayed their eagerness to continue the war. The rumbling of rain clouds during a night in the rainy season was brought to mind when they shouted in happiness. Ravana heard the tumult of the monkeys. It seemed strange to him that they should be happy, and he said, "The sound is startling, and it seems to me they are shouting with joy. There is no doubt about it. The brothers Rama and Lakshmana have been tied up by the Nagapasha, and yet the monkeys sound as though they are happy. I am wondering what could have happened to cause this sudden joy and sudden noise." He added, "Send someone to find out what is happening in the camp of the enemy." The messengers went and found out all that had taken place, and they returned to the king. They told their master, "The Kosala brothers, who were tied up by the Nagapasha, dispatched by our prince, are free of it, and they are looking as though nothing has hurt them. There is not even a trace of the many wounds which had been inflicted on them. They are like two elephants wandering happily in a lotus pond. Ravana heard their words. Amazement and worry were the mixed feelings which visited him. He had never known anyone who had escaped the Nagapasha and its dread bondage. He said, Indrajit was certain about tying them up with his astra. I am dubious about my strength when I hear of this miraculous escape of these brothers. He summoned the Rakshasa by name, Dhumraksha, and sent him with a fresh army to fight with the Vanaras. Dhumraksha was happy to obey the commands of his king, and soon he left the city in a hurry. A terrible army left Lanka with Dhumraksha to lead it and proceeded towards the field of battle. He went straight to where Hanuman was stationed, and there was a smile of confidence on his face. Evil omens were seen by him and his men, but he heeded them not, though for a moment they did frighten him. A furious fight was on between him with his Rakshasas on the one side and the Vanaras on the other. The Vanaras used their teeth and nails as well as trees and stones as their weapons, and they succeeded in destroying a large portion of the army of the Rakshasas. There was great loss on both sides, and Hanuman found his army to be suffering a great loss at the hands of Dhumraksha's men. Hanuman raised aloft a big boulder and threw it at the chariot of the chief. Dhumraksha leaped out of the chariot just before it fell to the earth, splintered to bits. A duel was fought between the two in which Hanuman killed Dhumraksha. It was a rock which crushed the life out of him. News reached Ravana that Dhumraksha was dead, and he sent Vajrama Vajradamshtra, who was proficient in Maya warfare. This Rakshasa, after he had displayed his valor for a short while, was killed by Angada, and after his death, Akampana, who was a Maharathika, led the army, and he was killed by Hanuman. Ravana was depressed to know that three of his great warriors were dead. He needed to think for a while. He bent his head down and his eyes were trained on the floor. After a while, he lifted up his face and he looked at his ministers and said, I will go now and inspect the army and make sure that the city is guarded well. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramar Pranamastu. Chapter 18, Part 2 of Ramayana's Yuddha khanda. Ravana sends Prahasta. Apadamahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham. Ravana made a tour of all the vital places and found that they were all guarded very well. His anger had not abated, and he approached his chief minister and the commander-in-chief of his army, Prahasta, and said, Prahasta, things have come to such a pass that it needs me or Kumbhakarna or Indrajit or Nikumbha or you to lead the men into battle. There seems to be a kind of fear instilled in the minds of our men because of the successive deaths of the three of our men. I want you to go at once and quell this upstart once and for all. When they hear your victorious progress, the Vanaras will flee from the place and you can defeat them easily. It is not an army at all which is trained in the art of fighting. They are wild, fickle-minded monkeys collected from the treetops. How can they face you? How can they tackle a disciplined army which marches ruthlessly under the guidance of a master like you? Rama and Lakshmana are sure to be captured by you. Never once have you been defeated in any fight, and so often have you fought by my side. Together, We have gone to the heavens, and the Devas have been afraid of you. I have implicit faith in your success. Prahasta was touched by the affection of the king and his faith in his prowess, and he said, You have always been good to me. I have received many honors from you, and several favors have been granted to me by you. My life is yours, and let me assure you that I am prepared to lay it down for you. Prabhasta went to the front. Rama saw him advancing and asked Vibhishana with a smile, Who is this Rakshasa who seems to be a great warrior? Vibhishana said, This is Prahasta, the commander-in-chief of the army of Ravana. He is very brave, and he has earned the reputation that he is a great fighter. He is familiar with the Astras, and he has been to the heavens when Ravana fought with the Devas. He is fairly formidable. The Vanara army was waiting for the coming of the army of Prahasta. They armed themselves with their weapons made up of trees and rocks, and soon the fight was on. There was killing on either side, and great was the loss to both of them. Nila was watching from a distance, and he saw the disaster which was being caused by Prahasta in his army. Nila came to the forefront, and he stood facing the commander of the army of Ravana. Prahasta saw him and went towards Nila in his chariot, which was golden. They fought a terrible duel, and the rest of the army stopped fighting and stood watching the glorious spectacle. Very soon, Nila had destroyed the chariot of Prahasta, and he had killed his horses and the charioteer too. He broke the bow of Prahasta, who jumped down from the terrace of his chariot, which had been broken. Prahasta and Nila were engaged in a duel. Finally, Nila took up an immense piece of rock in his two hands and hurled it with all his might at Prahasta. The commander of Ravana's army, the valiant Prahasta, fell down dead with his head split into several fragments. The army rushed back to the city with fear chasing every one of them. It was like a river which had brimmed its banks and finally broken them. Rama was thrilled with the valor shown by Nila, and there was great joy in the camp of Rama. Ravana was told that Prahasta had been killed by Nila, the son of Agni. He was shocked and grieved to hear the news. Very soon, anger was uppermost in his mind, and he said, Prahasta has always stood by me, and he has destroyed a large portion of the army of Indra in the days of old. Such a valiant fighter has been killed, and that by a mere monkey. His death has to be avenged. We should no longer ignore the valor of the enemy. I will go myself to the battlefield and avenge the death of my dear Prahasta, who was like a brother to me. I will kill the enemies and win the war. Like a forest fire will burn up a forest full of dry trees, I will burn them all up with my scorching arrows and make them all lie dead on the field. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramarpanamastu. Chapter 19 of Ramayana's Yuddha khanda, Ravana on the field of battle. Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Ravana called for his chariot, and soon it was at his door. He ascended the chariot, which was like fire, and set out for the field of battle. Surrounded by his Rakshasas, he looked like Lord Mahadeva, surrounded by his Pramata Ganas. He went fast towards the field of battle, and he saw the army made up of monkeys. He smiled in derision. Rama saw the huge army advancing, and he turned to Vibhishana and asked him, Who is the hero leading this mighty army? Everyone seems to be enthusiastic about fighting, and the chariot, which gleams golden, has their chief. I can see his bow, and it seems to be a mighty bow. I am intrigued as to who he is. Vibhishana looked at the army and the chariot and said, "On the elephant, which is like Airavata, is seated a great fighter by name Akampana. The chariot with the banner decorated with a lion holds Indrajit. The other warrior, who is making the earth quake with fear by the noise of his bowstring, is Atikya. He has by his side another of the favorite warriors of Ravana, and his name is Mahodara. Along with him can be seen Kumbha, whose banner is a serpent. Nikumba is the leader of this army. I can see Narantaka, who is famed for his valor against the Devas when he fought with them along with Ravana. You can see approaching you a white umbrella which is whiter than the moon. Under that umbrella is seated Ravana, the lord of the Rakshasas. He looks like Lord Mahadeva surrounded by his Bhutaganas. Look at his golden earrings and his crown. He is like the Vindhya and the Himavan in his magnificent physique. He has subdued Indra and Yama in the days of old when he fought with the Devas. He glows like the noonday sun. Rama looked at him for a long moment. He said, "The Lord of the Rakshasas is indeed glorious to look at. What radiance! He seems like the sun which cannot be seen with the naked eyes. So full of splendor is this Ravana. I am certain that he is the home of all that is mighty and valiant. What valor, what courage, what might, what splendor! This Lord of the Rakshasas is endowed with all the qualities of a great hero. I am amazed at the sight of him. No Deva or Asura can equal him in might, I am sure. His warriors are all brave and valiant, and they seem to be excellent fighters. In the midst of these, Ravana looks like Yama, the god of destruction, with his kinkaras." Rama's lotus eyes turned crimson and he said, "And when I think of my Sita, who has been stolen by him, I am reminded that he is a sinner. Fortunately, he has come within my sight. I will vent my anger on him, anger born of the heinous of his actions." Rama fixed a sharp arrow to his bow and stood waiting. Ravana, in the meantime, arranged his army in such a way that they could guard the city gates as well as aid him in the fight with Rama. He then plunged into the sea of Vanaras even as the shark enters the sea. Sugriva was the first to encounter him. He hurled rocks at Ravana which were splintered by the arrows from the golden bow of Ravana. Ravana took up an arrow which was like a snake and he dispatched it towards Sugriva. It was like Indra's Vajra and it hurt Sugriva. He fell down in a faint and the sight was pleasing to the Rakshasas. Several of the Vanara chiefs tried to accost Ravana but in vain. They could not face the arrows from his bow. He soon filled the field of battle with his arrows and nothing could be seen. Everyone rushed to Rama and he saw their distress. Rama took up his bow and Lakshmana said, "It is not necessary for you to strain yourself. I am capable of killing this wicked sinner. Permit me, Rama." Rama looked kindly at him and said, "Lakshmana, if you are so eager, then you can go and fight with Ravana. Be very careful. He is no mean fighter, and valor like his has not been seen by anyone anywhere before. He is highly incensed and no one in the three worlds can subdue him. I am certain about that. Make a note of his weakness and remember your weakness also. Be calm and unruffled and protect yourself with effort. With your alertness and with the help of your bow, you will be able to face Ravana." Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattvalyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramarpanamastu. Chapter 19, Part 2 of Ramayana's Yuddha khanda, Ravana on the field of battle. Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunataya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Lakshmana touched the feet of his brother, and placing the dust of his feet on his head, he went on to fight with the monarch of the Rakshasas. Lakshmana then looked at Ravana, who had caused such fear in the minds of the Vanaras. Hanuman, in the meantime, rushed towards Ravana with a rock in his hands. He shielded himself from the rain of arrows emerging from Ravana's bow. He went very near the chariot of Ravana. He said, "You have been granted a boon that you cannot be killed by Devas, Dhanavas, or any of the celestials, or Yakshas and Rakshasas. But remember, there is always danger for you at the hands of monkeys alone. This, my right hand, will teach you a lesson." Ravana was furious with Hanuman and he said, "Let me see you try and hit me. Do it once and you will win lasting fame. I will kill you after that." Hanuman said, "Remember your son Aksha, who was killed by me." Ravana was reminded of his son and his anger grew tenfold, and he hit Hanuman on the chest. Hanuman reeled under the blow, and for a few moments he stood as though he had been stunned. He fretted under the insult, and spurred by anger and humiliation, he beat Ravana with the palm of his hand. It was now Ravana's turn to reel under the blow. He recovered from the shock and said, "Well done. I admire your strength and valor. You are equal to me in both. You deserve praise for this." Hanuman said, "Fie on my strength which finds you still alive after my blow. Once more and my fist will send you to the abode of Yama." Ravana doubled his fist and hit Hanuman on the chest, and again Hanuman was staggered under the blow. Before he could resume his fight, Ravana went away from there and led his chariot towards Nila. He fought with Nila with his arrows, and Hanuman joined Nila. A fierce encounter followed, and Nila was teasing Ravana to the utmost. Nila had made himself very small, and he jumped onto the banner of Ravana's chariot. Aggravated by this, the Rakshasa took up the Astra Agneya and sent it towards Nila, the commander of the army of Rama. Nila fell on the ground, hit hard by the arrow. He did not die, however, since he was the son of Agni. Ravana went to where Lakshmana was, and he twanged the string of his bow to announce that he was ready to fight. Lakshmana challenged him to fight, and Ravana heard his words as well as the twang of Lakshmana's bowstring. He was furious. He said, "Foolishly, you have come before me, and you have the audacity to challenge me to fight with you. Fortunately, you have come within sight of me. I will dispatch you to Yama's city, whose doors are kept open for you and the likes of you." "You brag too much," said Lakshmana. "Let me see some action, and let me see if you can follow up your words with arrows which are equally sharp. I have heard of your valor, and you do not have to talk about it yourself. I am here with my bow, and show me how you can answer me." There ensued a memorable battle between Ravana and Lakshmana. Ravana could not bear the valor of Lakshmana, who was cutting up every arrow of his into pieces, and they fell on the ground like snakes with their bodies severed. He was a true fighter, and he admired the glorious fighting of Lakshmana. He now took up an astra presided over by Brahma, and when it was sent, he hurt Lakshmana on the forehead. Though he was taken aback for a moment, Lakshmana did not lose his senses and he broke Ravana's bow into splinters. Arrow followed arrow, and it was Ravana's turn to be hurt by his antagonist. He took up the Shakti which had been given by Brahma. It was hurled at Lakshmana, and spitting fire and smoke, it travelled towards Lakshmana. Lakshmana tried in vain to stop its progress with his arrows. The Shakti went straight at the chest of Lakshmana, and piercing it, the Shakti came to a stop. Lakshmana became unconscious and fell down. With a smile, Ravana came near him and tried to lift him up, but he was not able to do so. He was once able to lift up the mountain Kailasa with his hands, but he was not able to lift up the brother of Rama. Ravana was amazed at it. Lakshmana had been hit by Shakti, but he was not killed. Lakshmana was the Amsha of Narayana himself, and the Shakti could not kill him. Hanuman came there, and again he began to fight with Ravana using his fists. Ravana was unable to bear the impact of it and fell on the terrace of his chariot. Blood spurted from his mouth. Hanuman quickly lifted up Lakshmana and carried him to the presence of Rama. The Shakti left the chest of Lakshmana and went back to Ravana. Lakshmana was his old self once again, and there was not a trace of the wound made by the Shakti. Jai Shri Ram Lakshmana, Jai Shri Sita Mate. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramar Pranamastu. Chapter 19, Part 3 of Ramayana's Yuddha Khanda, Ravana on the field of battle. Apadamahattaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Sriramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyam. Ravana had recovered and was bent on fighting with fury. The Vanara army was suffering, and they rushed once again to Rama in despair. Rama quickly took up his bow and looked at Ravana, who was at some distance. He went near him with the intention of offering him fight. Hanuman said, "My lord, he is in a chariot, and it is not right that you should stand on the ground and fight. Please be seated on my shoulder, and I will carry you." Rama was touched by the offer of Hanuman, and he agreed to be seated on the back of Hanuman. The king of men accosted the king of the Rakshasas. The twang of his bow was loud, and it was frightening. He spoke to Ravana, "You are too sure of your valor. You consider yourself to be a great hero. You have offended me in a manner which cannot be forgiven. Be prepared to accept punishment for it at my hands. You are now in front of me, and we are going to fight. Let me tell you that neither Indra, nor Yama and Surya, nor even Brahma, Agni or Lord Mahadeva will be able to save you from my wrath. You may try to hide yourself in the four quarters or anywhere else, and yet you will not be able to escape from me and my anger. My brother, whom you have hurt with your Shakti, will prove to be the death of you and your wives and your sons. Perhaps you have been told about it, or you may not. I destroyed the entire place by name Janasthana, and not one of your men could escape the arrows from my bow. I will show you how I achieved it." Ravana could not brook the words of Rama. He took up his bow, and his arrows were aimed at Hanuman, who was carrying Rama. But, contrary to his expectations, the glory of Hanuman did but increase with the onslaught. Rama was terribly angry with the behavior of Ravana. He broke his chariot, and the horses were killed, and the charioteer was hurt with the sharp and feathered arrows he dispatched. Another arrow, powerful like Vajra, was aimed at the chest of Ravana, and he, who had stood unruffled in the presence of Indra and his Vajra, now staggered under the impact of Rama's arrow, and his bow slipped from his hand. Rama saw him reeling, and quickly he took another arrow which had a crescent shaped head, and with it he hit the golden crown of Ravana, which fell down broken. Rama looked at the king of the Rakshasas, who was without his bow, who had lost his splendor, who had been insulted because of the broken crown, who had suffered indignities at the hands of Rama. Rama said, "You acted in an unforgivable manner and you have hurt many of my warriors. And yet, since you are extremely tired, I have refrained from killing you with my arrows. I have allowed you to live. Go home, rest your tired limbs, and come back with another bow and another chariot. The fight has exhausted you. O king, go back to Lanka with my leave. When you come back after your rest, refreshed and ready to fight, I will then show you what I am capable of." Ravana's bow was broken. His chariot and his horses with the charioteer had been destroyed. His famed crown had been splintered by a single arrow of Rama's. He had been hurt abominably by the many arrows, and his pride had been humbled. His enthusiasm had all gone, and he returned crestfallen to Lanka. The celestials who had been watching from the skies were pleased with Rama. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramarpanamastu. Chapter 19, Part 3 of Ramayana's Yuddha Khanda, Ravana on the field of battle. Apadamahattaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Sriramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyam. Ravana had recovered and was bent on fighting with fury. The Vanara army was suffering, and they rushed once again to Rama in despair. Rama quickly took up his bow and looked at Ravana, who was at some distance. He went near him with the intention of offering him fight. Hanuman said, "My lord, he is in a chariot, and it is not right that you should stand on the ground and fight. Please be seated on my shoulder, and I will carry you." Rama was touched by the offer of Hanuman, and he agreed to be seated on the back of Hanuman. The king of men accosted the king of the Rakshasas. The twang of his bow was loud, and it was frightening. He spoke to Ravana, "You are too sure of your valor. You consider yourself to be a great hero. You have offended me in a manner which cannot be forgiven. Be prepared to accept punishment for it at my hands. You are now in front of me, and we are going to fight. Let me tell you that neither Indra, nor Yama and Surya, nor even Brahma, Agni or Lord Mahadeva will be able to save you from my wrath. You may try to hide yourself in the four quarters or anywhere else, and yet you will not be able to escape from me and my anger. My brother, whom you have hurt with your Shakti, will prove to be the death of you and your wives and your sons. Perhaps you have been told about it, or you may not. I destroyed the entire place by name Janasthana, and not one of your men could escape the arrows from my bow. I will show you how I achieved it." Ravana could not brook the words of Rama. He took up his bow, and his arrows were aimed at Hanuman, who was carrying Rama. But, contrary to his expectations, the glory of Hanuman did but increase with the onslaught. Rama was terribly angry with the behavior of Ravana. He broke his chariot, and the horses were killed, and the charioteer was hurt with the sharp and feathered arrows he dispatched. Another arrow, powerful like Vajra, was aimed at the chest of Ravana, and he, who had stood unruffled in the presence of Indra and his Vajra, now staggered under the impact of Rama's arrow, and his bow slipped from his hand. Rama saw him reeling, and quickly he took another arrow which had a crescent shaped head, and with it he hit the golden crown of Ravana, which fell down broken. Rama looked at the king of the Rakshasas, who was without his bow, who had lost his splendor, who had been insulted because of the broken crown, who had suffered indignities at the hands of Rama. Rama said, "You acted in an unforgivable manner and you have hurt many of my warriors. And yet, since you are extremely tired, I have refrained from killing you with my arrows. I have allowed you to live. Go home, rest your tired limbs, and come back with another bow and another chariot. The fight has exhausted you. O king, go back to Lanka with my leave. When you come back after your rest, refreshed and ready to fight, I will then show you what I am capable of." Ravana's bow was broken. His chariot and his horses with the charioteer had been destroyed. His famed crown had been splintered by a single arrow of Rama's. He had been hurt abominably by the many arrows, and his pride had been humbled. His enthusiasm had all gone, and he returned crestfallen to Lanka. The celestials who had been watching from the skies were pleased with Rama. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramarpanamastu. Chapter 20 of Ramayana's Yuddha khanda. Kumbhakarna is woken up. Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunataya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Ravana was very unhappy. He had never before seen so insulted as he had been today by Rama. And Rama's chivalry in asking him to come back refreshed and with another bow and another chariot was too galling to his pride. The sensitive monarch was full of humiliation and anger, and he could do nothing about it. Like an elephant hit by a lion or a serpent by Garuda, Ravana had been quelled by Rama, and it was very painful to him. Again and again he thought of the sharp arrows of Rama, which were swift and straight, and Ravana sat as though he had been stricken with an ague. He sat on his golden throne and addressed his Rakshasas. "You have all seen how I was defeated by a mere man on the battlefield today. All my penance and my everything seemed to me to be futile, worthless, and unprofitable when I think of the humiliation of today. After the boon had been granted to me, assuring me of immunity from death at the hands of the Devas and others, Brahma had said, 'Beware of man.' I did not pay any attention to it then, and I dismissed man as too much of an insignificant factor to be reckoned with. I remember an incident which took place many years ago. There was a king of the Ikshvakus by name Anaranya, and he had said, 'You are wicked Rakshasa, who is a blot on the name of your family. Remember, sometime there will be born someone in my house, and he will be the death of you along with your kinsmen.' I wonder if Dasharatha's son Rama is the man he meant." And again, there was a woman by name Vedavati, and when I assaulted her, she cursed me. Perhaps this Sita is that same Vedavati born again to destroy me. Several wise people have cursed me. Parvati, Nandikeshwara, Varuna's daughter, they have been harassed by me, and they have cursed me in the days of yore. The words of the learned will never prove false." Ravana sat silent for a while. He then shook himself out of his despondency and said, All that is neither here nor there. Let the guards of the city be doubly careful. An emergency has arisen, and I am afraid we will have to wake up my brother Kumbhakarna. He has been afflicted by the dread disease, sleep, and that is the curse of Brahma. He has to be waken up. Finding himself worried by the prowess of Rama, Ravana decided to summon Kumbhakarna, whose valor was proverbial. He ordered the army, "Guard the gates and the wall around the city. Make haste and wake up my brother Kumbhakarna." Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattvalyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramar Panamastu. Chapter 20, Part 2 of Ramayana's Yuddha khanda. Kumbhakarna is woken up. Apadamahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokaviramam Shri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham. Kumbhakarna had sat with him in the council hall just 9 days back, and he had gone back to sleep. Ravana was certain that Kumbhakarna would succeed where Prahasta had failed. He would kill the Kosala princess and the Vanara army would be routed. Ravana was convinced that Rama would meet his end at the hands of Kumbhakarna. He told himself, "Rama seems to me to be as valiant as Indra himself, and it is not possible for me to fight him and his army alone. I have to have the aid of my brother." The Rakshasas, who had been told that they should wake up Kumbhakarna, went to his palace. They carried with them perfumes and flowers and food in abundance, with barrels of wine to wash it down. They reached the main entrance. It was large, and passing it, they entered the hall where Kumbhakarna was sleeping. They could not stand there, since the breathing of the Rakshasa was so strong that it threatened to make them fall down. The hall was decorated richly, and there was gold and silver with gems in great profusion. In the midst of it all was found the prince, enormous like a small hillock. They began to try and wake him up. It was no easy task. They surrounded him with food, since he would be hungry as soon as he got up. Huge vessels of wine were placed near him, and they decorated his huge body with sandal paste and garlands of flowers, and they made loud noises like the roar of clouds, and they recited stanzas in praise of him. Nothing could make him get up. They blew on conches and trumpets and bugles and shouted all together, and yet he could not be roused. They had to use several sticks and rods to prod him and hurt him enough to wake him up. Finally, after a great deal of endeavor and efforts which were persistent, they found that he was disturbed in his sleep. They made a great deal of noise now, and that roused him up. Angry at the fact that he had been disturbed from his sleep, Kumbhakarna sat yawning and looked at all of them. He stood up and glared at all of them. His red eyes were frightening, and they silently indicated the food which was placed before him. He finished his repast and quaffed the pots of wine which were placed near him. They saw that his anger was somewhat lessened, since his hunger and thirst had been appeased. They came near him and saluted him. He looked at them inquiringly and asked them, "Why have I been woken up at the beginning of my long sleep? Has any crisis arisen which needs me to handle it? I hope everyone is well and happy. I have my own doubts about it. The fact that I have been waken up from my sleep shows that some great danger is awaiting all of us. It is clearly indicated even by your looks. I am sure of the danger. I will at once go and rid the king of his worry. I am not worried whether it is Indra or Agni who has come to frighten our city. I will tackle them easily. My brother would never have asked for me to be woken up unless he is desperate. Tell me truly why he has asked you to fetch me. Yupaksha, one of the ministers of the king, said, My lord, there is no danger for us from the heaven. The trouble is caused by a mere man. This evil which has befallen the Rakshasas because of one man has never happened before. No Asura or Deva has caused us any worry so far. The entire city is surrounded by monkeys and each is as large as a mountain. Rama, who is full of wrath because of the stealing of his wife by our king, is causing great havoc in our ranks. Some time back, one of the monkeys had come to our Lanka and he had killed our prince Aksha, and he has also burnt the beautiful city. They then spoke of the fight which has caused the death of some of the warriors, Prahasta being one of the dead. They then spoke of the fight between Rama and Ravana and the humiliation under which Ravana was still smarting. They said, This has never happened before to our king. Till now, no Deva or Dhanava has been able to treat the king thus in all these years. Rama allowed him to come back to the city alive since our king was too tired to fight and since he had lost his bow and his chariot. Our king has not been able to live this down and he decided to call you to his aid and to punish the human beings who have waged war on him, the Kosala brothers. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramar Pranamastu. Chapter 20.3 of Ramayana's Yuddha khanda. Kumbhakarna is woken up. Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunataya Rathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Kumbhakarna was listening to the words of Yupaksha and he said, I will go this very moment. I will kill Rama and Lakshmana and the host of the Vanaras and then go and see my brother. I am thirsty for the blood of these men. I want to see them dead as soon as I can. Mahodara, one of the valiant warriors in the Rakshasa army, intervened and said, If I may make bold to say so, it will be better if you meet the king first, and after discussing the strength and weakness of the enemy with him, then you can proceed to the field of battle. The king is eager to meet you. Please go and see him. He wants someone who is affectionate towards him by his side now. Please hasten to his presence. He needs you now. Kumbhakarna, who was extremely fond of his brother, nodded in agreement, and Yupaksha and Mahodara went to the palace of the king. They told him, Your brother has been roused from his sleep, and will you be going to see him, or should we bring him to you? Ravana was very happy to know that Kumbhakarna had been woken up, and he said, Let him be brought here. They went to the valiant Kumbhakarna and said, The king desires to see you immediately. Make him happy by talking to him. Kumbhakarna rose up from his bed, and after he had dressed himself in beautiful white silks and decorated his ears with golden earrings, his magnificent chest with necklaces of gold, he walked with noble strides to the presence of Ravana. He looked like Yama at the time when the Yuga ends. The earth trembled under his firm tread, and he walked towards Ravana's palace like Indra going to see Brahma. When he was walking in the streets of the city, the monkeys, which had seated themselves on the walls, saw him and fled out of sheer terror. He was radiant like the sun during the middle of the day, and the glow was unearthly. No one could look at him with the naked eyes. At a glance, Kumbhakarna saw that his brother's face was devoid of the expression of the pride which was habitual to him. He now saw that worry sat on the brow of the king. Ravana got up from his seat and went towards his brother. Taking his two hands in his, he made him sit on the couch placed beside his. Kumbhakarna prostrated before Ravana and was then embraced warmly by Ravana. When he had seated himself, Kumbhakarna asked, "Why was I asked to come to your presence in such a hurry? I was woken up from a deep sleep and I knew that you needed me. Tell me, which sinner is causing you trouble? Who is desirous of meeting death at my hands? Whether the danger is from Indra or even from our great grandsire Brahma, let it not worry you. There is no one to equal me in valor or in strength. Not one in the three worlds can face me and escape me and my power. Tell me." Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramar Pranamast. Chapter 20, Part 4 of Ramayana's Yuddha khanda. Kumbhakarna is woken up. Apada Mahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokaviramam Shriramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamiham. Ravana was still smarting under the experiences on the battlefield. He said, "My brave brother, while you were asleep, several things have happened. While you were happy and dead to the world, you have not been aware of the crisis that has arisen because of Rama. The son of Dasharatha has collected an army which is led by Sugriva. The army is made up of monkeys, and Rama with his army has managed to cross the sea and is desirous of cutting up the entire Rakshasa clan with a grim determination. If you turn your eyes about you, you will see the devastation caused to our forests and to our gardens. It is dreadful to see wasteland after wasteland wherever the monkeys have set foot. Many of my brave warriors have been killed, and Lanka is inhabited now mostly by old men and children. I am at a loss as to how I am going to destroy these monkeys. They have not been vanquished, not even once. A great danger has arisen. You are the only person who can destroy their entire army. That was why I asked that you should be woken up. My city is surrounded on all sides by the enemy. My helpmates are all dead. My treasury is empty. Save the city and save me from complete destruction. Undertake this impossible task for me. My dear brother, never before have I asked such a favor of you. I have great affection for you and I respect you and your valor immensely. I have often seen your valor in the wars we have fought with the Devas. I do not think there is anyone like you in all the three worlds. You love me and you hold me in high esteem. I know it. Help me now in my hour of need, and like a strong wind scattering the clouds which have gathered in the sky, reduce the army of Rama to dust and come back victorious." Kumbhakarna laughed when he heard the words of Ravana. He said, "This was exactly what we all warned you about when we had a council meeting hardly 10 days back. You would not listen to the words of wisdom spoken, and now you are faced with the dire problem. One who has committed a grave sin cannot escape the special hell meant for him, and your evil deed has rewarded you only too soon. Then, when you were proud of your valor, when arrogance blinded you, this solution was not thought of. nor did you think of the consequences of your deeds. One who is blinded by his wealth and glory, who does not act properly, who does the later things first, and who postpones his immediate duties to a later date, does not know the difference between the right path and the wrong path. Actions which have been performed without any attention being paid to the proper time and place, which are unnatural, will be tainted with sin and will be ineffectual, even as the yaga performed by a man who has no faith. A king who honors the advice of his wise ministers and adopts the different rules of governing of statecraft will ever be following the right path. The king who follows the rules prescribed by the Shastras, who listens to advisors and well-wishers and acts according to their advice, who uses his own discrimination, will respect the wise men of his court and reap the rewards of dharma, artha and kama. If, however, he does not understand the teachings which have been instilled in him, it means that he has not utilized his learning in the proper manner. Sama, Dana, Beda and Danda should be used at the proper times. The distinction between right and wrong should be discussed with his counselors, and the king should then decide on his action. Such a wise king will never be assailed by danger at any time. He should realize that some things can be done and some should be avoided, since it is sinful to do so. A king should be careful to have wise and good men as his counselors. A man who considers wrong to be right and advises accordingly should be shunned, and such a man is as good as a traitor. If one acts without considering the consequences of his actions, he will surely suffer later. A king who knows his enemies and yet does not think to guard himself will fall into danger, and he will be pushed down from his state of power. Once your brother advised you wisely and you did not take his advice. It will be better if you take that advice at least now. If you do so, it will be beneficial to you and to those whom you call yours. Please consider my words and do as you please. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramar Pranamast. Chapter 20, Part 5 of Ramayana's Yuddha khanda. Kumbhakarna is woken up. Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunataya Nataya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Ravana was listening to his brother's words, and his anger was rising. His lips were throbbing and the frown on his brow deepened. He said, "An elder brother has to be honored like one's own father or guru. And you dare to give me advice? Do not strain yourself unnecessarily. Do what you think fit now and act accordingly. Because of the fumes of lust, because of a deluded power of thinking, because of my arrogance born of power and valor, some events have taken place. Perhaps it is futile to discuss them now. Consider what is to be done now, at the present moment, and tell me what should be done. What has happened, and the wise do not waste time regretting over what is past. If you ever did hold me dear in your heart, if you are certain about your own valor, if you think that this task is essential, then wipe out the evil which has happened as a result of my wrong actions. Correct the results of my past indiscretions. One who aids a man who is helpless because all his efforts have been frustrated is a real comfort. One who helps even a sinner is indeed noble, a real kinsman." Kumbhakarna saw that his brother was angry as well as very unhappy, and he spoke soft and sweet words. He said, "My lord, my king, enough of this sorrow. Shed this anger and summon peace of mind. When I am alive, this despondency does not become you. I will kill him who is the cause of your pain and unhappiness. I felt it is my duty to tell you what is good for you, and because of the affection I have for you, I thought I could take advantage of that privilege and give you this advice. I wished you well, and so I spoke as I did. If you think I should go and fight, I will certainly do so. A well-wisher will act in such a manner as to please his dear kinsman. I will destroy your enemy. Soon you will see Rama and Lakshmana killed in the war. I will bring his head and lay it at your feet. I will be the death of Sugriva. Rama can never approach you, not as long as I am alive. I am not sorry for myself. Send me at once to the battlefield. When I enter the field with the trident in my hand, I will set up such a roar that Indra will tremble in his abode in heaven. No one will dare to come near me. I need no weapons. With my bare hands I will kill the enemy. If Rama is able to withstand the power of my fist, I will then use arrows against the brothers. My arrows also have been left dry since a very long time. I will go now and bring fame to you. The danger you spoke of will be removed by me like darkness by the sun. Shed all your worries. Go to your Antapura and spend your time with your women and with a flagon of wine. I will go to the field of battle and destroy your enemies. Once Rama is dead, Sita will become yours in course of time. Ravana was very pleased with Kumbhakarna and his words of encouragement and confidence. He said, with the trident in hand, you will enter the battlefield, and they will all think that Yama himself has come to fight with them. Destroy them all and come back to me. Their hearts will tremble with fear when they hear your roar. Ravana was certain that he had won the war and that the end of Rama was very near. Kumbhakarna left for the battlefield with great enthusiasm, and in his hand he held the trident, which was very like Indra's thunderbolt or like the great Pinaka of Lord Mahadeva. He turned to Ravana and said, I do not need an army with me. I will go alone and do the needful. The king said, it will be better if an army accompanies you. You do not know the viciousness of those dreadful monkeys. A moment of carelessness will make them bite you with their sharp teeth and torture you with their nails and with the boulders and trees which seem to be their weapons. You should be very careful with them. Ravana stood up and taking up a beautiful necklace which had a pendant set with gems, he placed it on the neck of Kumbhakarna. He placed several ornaments on his chest and arms and fingers. He made him wear a necklace of pearls which gleamed beautifully and softly like the moon. He made him wear an armor which was impenetrable, and the noble Rakshasa looked like Himavan. Ravana embraced his brother again and again, and the great Kumbhakarna prostrated before Ravana before he left for the battlefield. Ravana went with him to the doorway and spoke words of blessing and then sent him on his mission. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Shri Ramar Pranamastu.